Okay. You can screen share. Instead of having to set up my laptop at the other table if I sat down.
Hi, Jennifer. And looks like Randy is not yet showing video.
Hello.
No.
There's Randy.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. We're just waiting on Quinn and Jeremy and Lisa.
All right, let's give it a few minutes then. Because we
Okay.
need, how many? We need one more for quorum.
I think we have a quorum.
Sorry, who's in the room?
We have Ben here.
Oh, okay, hi, Ben.
So we have 4 out of 7, which would be a quorum. We might just wanna.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Because did you hear from anyone that they weren't able to attend?
I did not.
Okay.
So I think everybody should be here.
Oh,
Here at
well, 5 o'clock is trying to wrap things up probably.
Yep. Mhm. Hello.
Oh,
Hello. Now I gotta balance it out.
there you go. Feel free to grab a copy if you'd like.
I have a copy, thank
Oh.
you. It's really great.
Yeah.
It's really
Oh.
great to email you and say, I love this.
You all did the hard work. We just, it looks pretty.
Let's give them let's do 2 more minutes, do you think, Abby?
Yeah, sure.
I thought she was gonna say, let's give them a round of applause.
Well, we'll get to that once we call the meeting to order, Lisa. We'll make sure it's official business.
Jen, as
Yeah.
a fellow double dog owner, you'll be happy to know I have a brand new fence.
Oh, jealous.
And we should, once my dogs are used to it, we can have a puppy party.
That would be delightful.
Can I get on the invite list for that?
What kind of dog do you have?
I don't have a dog.
Oh.
That's why I need to come. Let me get it off.
Oh my God.
She just needs to witness the meeting of the Yorkshire Terriers and the West Highland Terriers.
West Highland Terriers.
Except it would be similar to a dog park, Lisa, and that's what gets my one dog into trouble with her bulging discs in her neck.
Aw,
I'd have to keep her.
on a leash or
Yeah. Oh, that would be so fun. All right, let's go ahead. Since we have more than quorum now, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:03, and hopefully the 2 that are missing so far can join us when they can. So Abby, do you need roll for this, or do you have the attendance already? You're good?
I have Cole, Hanairo, Roden, Bruce, and Sandoval present, Wakely and Wolf absent.
Okay. And then we received the minutes from our October 4th or 14th subcommittee meeting, the subcommittee of the Housing Strategy and Finance as part of the Workforce Housing and Community Development Authorities joint work together. Do we have any comments, questions, changes, corrections to those minutes?
nope.
No changes.
So hearing none, the minutes are accepted as drafted. Thank you. And then we have been provided, this is far more extensive and beautiful than I had anticipated for this meeting. So yes, Lisa, now a round of applause for for putting together a draft of our affordable housing action plan. That is a representative of the process that we have undergone with this, as well as like a very comprehensive look at like materials and things that have influenced this process and informed some of our decision making to get to this point. And then it is a reflection of both the work of our subcommittee, the Housing Strategy and Finance Subcommittee, as well as that Education and Outreach Subcommittee as part of this work. And then Abby, other subcommittee will be reviewing this as well. Is that correct? Or they already have?
They are reviewing it tomorrow night.
Wonderful. And then we will be presenting it to a joint meeting of the Community Development Authority and the Workforce Housing Committee on December 11th, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And so then it would be at that time, any final changes or revisions or additions, but hopefully adoption by those two committees for recommendation to the council, correct?
Yes, and we would still have an extra step in there to get some public input. I think we had targeted in the timeline February-ish for that to happen, and that would also be the time when we would circulate it to any other city committees that might want to take a look. I think the one that we primarily had identified was the Sustainability Committee.
And probably Plan Commission.
Plan Commission, yes.
Okay, thanks for the reminder there on that, the public input piece. So we could potentially need the two committees to come together again, if we need to make significant revisions based on public input and the other committee input. Is that correct?
I think that that's correct.
Okay.
I should have put the timeline in the packet and I
Oh,
didn't.
sorry.
Can I ask a couple questions while you're looking that up? So when is, our joint meeting is December 11th. Do we have a time?
I think it's 5:30, but let me look here. Yes, 5:30 p.m.
Okay, and does that mean this subcommittee will not meet on the 9th?
Unless we think that there are going to be significant revisions, I don't think we would need to meet. I do think that there would be an opportunity between now and the December joint meeting if you wanted to have that rapid response writing group, like 2 or 3 members.
Oh, okay, to
meet
make changes.
and make changes. That could happen before December 11th.
Honestly, I did not see that many. I mean, I have some edits, but they're like tweaks and, rephrasing and typo here and there. And let me also ask about the committees. I wonder if it would be better to get input from the committees before we go out to the public. I'm trying to think, like, if we get input from committees and from the public at the same time, then we have to balance the changes we'd be making. Whereas if we get input from committees sooner rather than later, then like maybe we get the input from committees in January so that in February, we're just asking the public, okay, this has already been vetted by these various committees. What do you think? Do you know what I mean? Instead of, yeah. Just a thought.
Let me join the Zoom here so that I can share the timeline.
And while you're doing that, Abby, I think my Zoom is crashing, so I will be right back.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because it's not responsive.
Okay, you're not frozen on our end and we can hear
No.
you.
Nope.
Okay. So just looking at this timeline. We're refining the draft in November. We're going to have the joint meeting on December 11th. I don't think that we had identified a date for a council or committee of the whole in January. So I'm wondering if we could just flip what we had slotted for January and February and instead plan to present it to council in February and circulate it to committees in January.
And so when would we get the feedback from council? Like, it seems council should see it first so we can tweak what people find objectionable or have concerns about. And then go out to our committees for a quick turnaround, and then go out to the public for a final. I mean, it's changeable. I never like to make it seem like this is the final product and we just want you to see it before we publish it. I really want to seek input from people.
Do we have the opportunities to meet in between each of those though, to distill the input?
Well, so it would really be helpful to know when council's meeting. Because if we have 2 meetings in January and have a committee of the whole meeting, I would say put this on a council agenda for discussion. Not save it for a committee of the whole meeting. Which actually, we probably need to save all our committee of the whole meetings for the campus plan.
Yeah,
So if we can get this on, at least the second meeting in January.
that would be the 20th.
That way, any modified version could go out. It's fine to send it to the committees and Randy and I are both on planning commission, right? So I don't anticipate a whole lot of changes coming from the planning commission, and sustainability. We'll have some tweaks that might be different than what the public is gonna be.
Just a question in general on that, because I haven't been through this before. So when we send it to committees, do the committees make changes or the committees make suggestions?
Suggestions.
That we then decide
Yep.
whether to incorporate? Okay.
Yep.
Here's Jen coming back in.
And actually, now that I think about it, sustainability always meets on the 4th Monday in January because they skip the Martin Luther King holiday.
Yep.
So if council meets and doesn't make a whole lot of changes, sustainability could review it at their meeting in January. Which I think would be good to do. Because like I said, I don't see Plan Commission having a whole lot to say.
So are you thinking we would take it to council on January 6th or the 20th?
Let me get to January. I would take it on the 20th.
Okay.
I would pencil it in for the 20th because there's always a chance that meeting on the 6th will be canceled. We typically cancel something during the holidays. So there's a chance that one will be canceled, but the 20th won't. And then sustainability can review it on the 26th and Plan Commission could review it on the 27th. Again, assuming council doesn't make wholesale changes to.
So assuming they'd be essentially reviewing the same version then, unless we met in between the.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, so if council suggests changes, we kind of would
Gotcha.
make them.
Mhm.
I can't imagine we're gonna get a ton of comments from council. Yeah, so then Plan Commission on the 27th, sustainability on the 26th, and then maybe take that week and the following week and kick off the public input on February 9th that week.
Are there any holidays that we need to avoid?
No,
Okay, thank you.
not from Simon Stevens.
So the week of February 9th, we would have the
That's a-
plan refined and seek public input.
Yeah, that's the earliest to seek public input.
So we would like to schedule subcommittee meetings or a joint meeting in between then, after the 27th, between the 27th and 29th, or we do that offline.
That could be the rapid response team to incorporate any changes we get from the two committees. And yes, it would likely should take place later that week or the following week. And then maybe at our meeting, joint meeting with CDA, we can talk about what we envision the public information process or public input process looking like. Along, in person, Zoom, you know.
And that's at the December 11th meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Since my computer crashed and I missed half of that, do you want to just recap it real quick, Abby?
Sure. So we would hold the joint meeting with the CDA and Workforce Housing Committee as planned on December 11th. One of the focus items on the agenda would be to look at determining what the public input process is to be used. So if we're going to do like public information and hold a public hearing where we give people time to comment, or a survey, or what other types of public engagement methods we want to use for it. Then on January 20th, which is not a committee of the whole, it's a regular city council meeting, the second one in January. There would be a presentation to council about the recommended plan. We would go ahead and recommend that the council provide input and circulate it to the Plan Commission and the Sustainability Committee for review. And then we were talking about possibly having a public informational session at the February 16th Workforce Housing Committee regular meeting date. I don't know if we should strike that, because instead of that, we would defer to the committees to decide what that would look like on December 11th. And then the Sustainability Committee typically meets a week later than normal in January, so they would meet and review it on January 26th, Plan Commission on January 27th, and then sometime between January 27th and the week of February 9th, we would have the rapid response writing teams review the input and decide which of the input that we receive should be incorporated into the plan. And that would give our staff time to make the changes before we would go out for public input.
Okay, I like this, except for the suggested motion. I wonder if that motion to recommend this PC and Sustainability Committee, shouldn't that come from our joint meeting on the 11th? So that
Yes.
they can get it on their agendas for January.
Yep, that makes sense. So,
Presentation to council would be before public input? Is that way I'm
Yeah.
understanding this?
Yes, to make sure we're on the right track.
So they would not be either approving or denying the plan, they would just be just an input cycle?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think this is a good recommendation to send to our joint committees. I hope our sister subcommittee can concur tomorrow night.
yes, I'll be sure to get this to Daphne at the other committee tomorrow.
I know you need our input, but I wanted to get through the process real quick. I want to pause though, any committee members have anything else to add to this, or I want to make sure there's consensus.
I think it looks great.
Yep.
I think we're sticking to our schedule so well.
We are.
We're like a model, for other committees.
Well, thank you, staff.
Yeah. And thank you, Ben, because Ben always brings up the timeline.
Yeah.
That's good. That's why we have a timeline.
Yep. So, this item, the workforce housing public informational session. That is TBD. So I
Yes.
think I'm gonna strike it for now.
Yeah, because you don't get President's Day off, do you?
No.
No,
Some people might. And I hate holding things on holidays.
Only our federal friends.
And bankers.
Ah,
I worked at a nonprofit and we started to get it off too, just before I retired. Just thinking about, people who might take a 3-day weekend. I think the Chicago Auto Show takes place. That's one of the weekends, because that's when I started getting that day off. You can take long weekends to Chicago for the auto show.
I had not pegged you as an auto show person.
Well, I had an 8-year-old boy at the time and
Okay.
loved it. Loved it.
all right. Well, Abby, do you need more input on this, or should we jump into feedback on the plan itself?
I think we can go on to the plan.
Ah, excellent. Well, I just want to say it looks amazing. Again, it like exceeds my expectations of what we were going to be looking at today. It really gives us a sense of what we're going to be sharing out publicly, and it just needs now a few tweaks and some additional input. If you here committee members haven't had like a huge amount of time to review it, like myself, dealing with a lot of family stuff, we have another kick at this at our December 11th meeting. I would say, or Abby, we can send you thoughts and comments via email, correct? Not reply all, but just if there's anything we notice that we need addressed before we convene as a group on the 11th. Anyway, but yeah, it sounds like some folks had comments ready. Lisa, you certainly sounded like you had some tweaks for consideration.
Just a few, but I'm happy to let others go first. Unless people want time to think. All right,
Here we go.
I'll go through. Okay, so starting with page 4. Just a couple things, middle paragraph. 80% to 100% of the city's median income, while delete the A before counselors. Next paragraph, since 2023, I would take
Amy,
out the
can you zoom in a bit? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So see, since 2023, delete the, and data after 553,000. And then I know the formatting will change, but it'll be important not to break at the bottom after that first sentence, because that's really getting into renters, 37 0.6% of homeowners and 34% of renters pay over 30% of their income on housing in Middleton. And it goes on to say, this is bad, right? But you want to make sure those two, that's shown up.
Yeah.
Are you on the Zoom able to follow this?
Yes, I can anyway.
You okay? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I see thumbs up.
Then I had a question, the next continuing sentence, it says, compared to Dane County, 30% of homeowners and 46% of renters pay over 30% of their income on housing. And I don't know what that means compared to Dane County. I think there's an edit that needs to
Yeah,
happen
we
there.
can edit that for clarity. The general point was we looked at both the West Dane County numbers for renters and homeowners that are cost burdened versus Middleton to see how.
Okay, so I would change that to by comparison in Dane County as a whole, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think using the terminology cost burden, like, yeah, it's already there in the other sentence, but reiterating that it's the burden of cost.
Yeah.
I mean, do we want a footnote that indicates, right, that ideally folks to have a balanced budget income, folks should be paying less than 30% of income on their housing cost, or I guess maybe a footnote about the definition of cost burdened.
Yeah, we can add a call out box. There's plenty of space for it on that. So got a note for that.
So the next paragraph, I would just revise it, rearrange it to start with, according to the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy. Middleton needs to add approximately 6,000 new housing units through 2040 in order to meet projected demand and address the current undersupply of housing period. So just starting with the.
Yep.
Yeah. And then kudos to trying to explain the big squeeze slide or graph in words. I think I would change it to say the RHS found that there are too few housing units available for, and then the households, as you've got it written, and those making more than 100% of AMI, and then delete the rest of that sentence. This means that the lowest income and highest income, hyphenated, are both competing for units. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then the last sentence of that paragraph, there's not enough units, housing maybe, being built for home buyers or renters at the lower ends of the income range or something like that.
I got one on the next paragraph. It's more of a question where it says advises that 26% of units countywide should be legally restricted affordable. Do we know that percentage for Middleton, or can we calculate that, or do we not have the data?
I'll double check the way that the RHS phrased it, and we can see if we can make that more Middleton.
Yeah, so you did the math for the total, but I wonder, since we just mentioned the 318 new units per year, I wonder if it would be good to add per year as a comparison for the legally restricted rental units. Next page, I think the heading could be a little more descriptive, so overview of Middleton's affordable housing strategy or action plan. Because it's not just the fund, right?
Yes. Can wordsmith that.
Okay.
Could we just take out the word fund?
I would put Middleton's in there though, to make sure it's clear. I
Okay.
mean, it is our document, but it could just be a generic, this is what should be done.
Yep.
I love that the timeline is in here. Thank you, Matt, or, you know, the time frame for this document. I like this format with the strategies, and it's nice and clean and easy to follow, and I assume at some point we will be suggesting the priorities, or is staff going to?
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention is the thought would be letting folks have a little bit of time to sit with this, you know, the way it's formatted or the way that everything's organized and think through priorities so that during that December 11th meeting, we can go over that. that could look either low, medium, high, that could look year one, years 1 through 3, years 3, you know.
So we kind of did the year one though, last meeting, didn't we? Is that what's got it's page 15?
Yep, yeah, so we have a year one. I guess what I'm saying is there's more ways to do it than just low.
Year one.
High.
Right.
Mhm.
So if folks have suggestions or ideas of how best to convey priorities, because I think all of these are a priority, that's why they're on the
Yeah.
plan, so.
I was thinking it'd be nice to be able to tie 13 and 15, so you can say which ones on here are year one items.
Okay.
You just have an indicator somehow.
But I appreciate that this is an action item for our convening, because I do think, you know, we represent and the other committee represents a portion of both of the committees, but there are still people who are not engaged at this process and will need some time. And I think we really want their input on the priority. So I think if we can make that clear in the meeting notice, or when you send the things out to the committees, Abby, making very clear that folks should becoming prepared to discuss priority.
That's a good idea, and I would encourage you, like, as soon as the changes are made, to get that out to the committee and save the date and send the rest of the packet, the agenda, closer to the meeting like you would.
Yep.
And then one thing I just want to note here is, we sat down and tried to talk through, okay, as we were, as we would implement each of these strategies, what do we project the staff time would be, and kind of in just rough terms, low, medium, high. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about, a housing planner to be able to manage these programs. So the ones that are listed as high are ones that we think that would just be outside of our existing capacity of our team. The ones that are medium would be maybe a bit of a stretch, but they're things that we've done before or could, pretty decently outsource a lot of the time intensive work to other entities. And the low ones are just a level below that, where they're a lot simpler on our end to implement, just to help give some level of guidance for, our quick take on how possible each of these are with our existing capacity.
I like that, and yet I wonder, what if all the medium ones were going to be done? Would you have, like, should we read these as if you had one of those medium tasks, you'd still be okay? What if you had all of them? Would that translate into high? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or like, could you do 2 of the medium? Like, what's the?
That's a great question. I don't have a great answer to.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like understanding how regularly we would be doing things. So like, is the RFP an annual process that we put in place and we do at the same time every year? Or is it every other year? Like, how are the proposals that are coming in getting evaluated? Some of the low priority things, we could definitely do all of those things with our current staff because they're easy lifts. Acquiring land. I'm actually wondering if that should.
Sounds like a
thinking
high.
About it more, that should
Mhm.
probably be more of a high priority item, because that's not something we typically do. We've done it before, but it's not a regular thing that we do every year. So I would probably make that
Make that one
change.
high.
And then relatedly, for the cost estimates column, we looked at comparables that we could find either from, a lot of these come from the City of Madison programs. What they're seeing in terms of a per unit cost for different types of things. Some of these can be a little bit more hard to pin down in terms of like what the actual cost would be in terms, like, for example, like funding for supportive services that could scale up or down as much as truly wanted it to. So if folks would like, we could do a little bit more, deeper digging on what different communities are spending per year on those, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of complicating factors that,
Yeah, you make a lot of assumptions.
there's a lot of assumptions and assumptions that felt hard to boil down into a single cell for each one, so we
Sure.
just kept it as a broader varies for those.
Well, so in addition to making that one change to acquisition of land being a high staff time commitment, maybe the next, when we get together in December, give some thought to like how many of the medium things could you imagine taking on in 1 year before it becomes a high thing that really should be bumped to the a new planner. And can I ask about reestablish a down payment assistance program? Is that a recommendation the staff would make?
So that was one that was in the strategy and finance document. So that, to give a little bit of background for folks that aren't as familiar, I think it was, Abby, what timeline was that? That was-
That we were doing the program,
Yeah, that was 2003.
Uh,
I
and I think, well,
have it written down somewhere in the plan, but anyways, long story short, that's a decade or two ago, the city was administering a down payment assistance program. That has been, my understanding is a little bit more time intensive. In terms of staff time, not the biggest bang for the buck. And so in talking with folks in Madison, a lot of their down payment assistance comes kind of wrapped in with development of new affordable housing. So, they give a loan to Habitat for Humanity. Part of that loan then gets passed on to the home buyer in terms of a down payment assistance for that buyer for that unit. So that's one model that we could do down payment assistance that's not as, broadly spread throughout the city, but would be a little bit easier on the implementation side than the existing program, which no new loans have gone out for that for a while, but I think Abby still sometimes has to.
yeah, well, we still have
Correct.
loans that are outstanding.
Yeah.
Our city administrator has some experience with down payment assistance in a
Mhm.
previous place where he worked, and I know they really struggled to get a partner on board to handle the all the work related to loans. I do think that they have a financial institution on board now. I don't know who it is. But it can be a challenge. It takes up a lot of time. I think we only did about 15 loans, and we were working with a private partner. It was the Wisconsin Housing Preservation, or no, the Wisconsin Housing Partnership was our nonprofit partner. But when the CDA eliminated funding to the program, we didn't have money to pay to keep them on board as our partner, so we brought all of the loans in-house. And there does seem to be a lot of confusion about how the loans were set up. So the residents that are still living in their units and have not paid, some of them thought that it was a forgivable loan, and it's not. It's a zero interest loan if you stay in the home for 15 years. Another consideration with down payment is just looking at and understanding what else is already out there and trying to figure out, like, if we provide this as an extra layer, what benefit does the city get through offering it?
We can discuss this at our joint meeting, but given the history and the experience, I'm inclined to not include this as a recommendation because of the low bang for the buck. I think if we do next month decide to remove it, we need to be prepared to address that at the council presentation. I fear that if this stays in, that's the one that most people will be like, oh, that sounds like a really great idea. And I don't want to.
Sounds simpler than it is.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds simpler and better than it is. So just, I would make a note of that maybe this one comes out and there are other ways to, like, the whole they keep bringing up the Sheboygan Falls example where the people could use the value of the land as their down payment. That seems like a easier, process wise, an easier thing to do, but I don't know if it is or not. I mean, first we'd have to be building the housing.
And I do think that reestablish a down payment assistance program came out of the comp plan. So if it becomes something that we decide not to pursue, that probably should be amended there as well.
Yeah,
And the category directly above that is intended to be a bit more about down payment assistance, but I could reword that to make it a bit more explicit that down payment assistance is included within that other category, so we're not completely removing it, but just changing
yeah.
the way it would be administered is through these nonprofits that are constructing the housing versus based.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is there a way to make it more like facilitate down payment assistance without being specific that city?
Randy?
Randy has his hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. So are we suggesting that maybe the down payment assistance program doesn't go away entirely, but it becomes wrapped into the partnering with organizations? Is that what we're saying?
I think that's what Scott was suggesting. And we did have a conversation about this exact item earlier today, and I think from the staff standpoint, we're on the same page about trying to create our own separate program versus trying to wrap it into a partnership that we would already have with another entity. I think would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I should know the answer to this question, but does the VA have anything? Because I'm thinking back to our early conversations about who are our target populations. And I want to make sure, and I actually didn't read this looking for that, but I want to make sure things like senior housing and, maybe extra help for veterans, something, or first generation home buyers. I want to, next time I read through it, I'll be looking for that, but that could be explained in solicit creative ideas and partnerships for all types of housing. Goes on to describe types of housing, but maybe we could add senior housing to that list.
Where are you looking?
This is strategy
The-
one, and actually that
Q.
it would be good to add a column to give these guys numbers or letters so that we can refer to strategy 1A or 1B.
Yeah.
I agree about the numbers. I don't want to call out the VA as like a partner example. My experience so far has been their housing programs they have a lot of standards that are often really difficult to meet for their first-time homebuyer mortgages, for their reverse mortgages. I mean, the housing and the amount that folks are able to borrow doesn't align with the housing stock that is often in that price range. So there's a lot of challenges for our veterans to use their benefits towards housing.
Sad.
Yeah.
I'll also add that the LIHTC program often has set asides for buildings that focus on seniors or veterans or other subgroups such as that. So even though it's not explicitly stated, I think through those RFP programs, we could set different priorities for.
I wonder if that would be a good thing to mention, maybe. I don't want to get into footnoting, but I could imagine council members being like, what's this program? So maybe there's a way to like footnote it and indicate that this program does this, that, and the other thing, and mention the seniors and the veterans.
And I guess a good spot to do that, and to skip ahead a bit, Abby, to page 12, I think it's a good example to share. So for folks who haven't had a chance to crack this open fully yet, what we try to do is under each strategy, kind of incorporate the communication within a lot of the, details for or guidance for implementation. So try to have like a one sentence, what are we talking about here? A little bit of background on why each strategy is important and different things to consider during implementation. So if there's something from the strategy and finance plan that you notice that you can't immediately find here, oftentimes that got moved maybe to the how to implement section. For example, some things about a good example on this one is the on-site amenities for like community gardens, community playrooms and such. Those are requirements that could be included through the RFP process, but for sake of keeping a clean sheet here, just shuffle around location a bit.
Yes, I wanted to say I found that really helpful because it did pull out some of those details that we were getting stuck on because we were trying to think through how to prioritize them, how to lump them together. We started having that second list and then the other recommendations for council, for staff, etc. list. I think this did a really nice job of pulling them, keeping our strategies like higher level and then the implementation considerations so that when those strategies are ready to be, that can be incorporated in. I felt like this was a really good way to organize it. So thank you.
Thank you.
On 13, the difference on strategy 2, difference between the second and third items. I was struggling to recall how they're both, what the distinction is between the provide funding for nonprofit versus the partner with the satellite office. I mean, but what the distinction was, and like what would those difference in what those services would be?
Are you talking about for 2A?
I just going off page 13, like the second and third items.
So
Our page is
2B and 2C.
Yeah, you mean.
I think I have that as page 15 on mine.
Oh, I guess I'm reading there's 3 page numbers on my sheet, so that I'm going off the wrong number. It's page 7. I don't. Yeah, but it is 2B and 2C. Yeah.
What's the heading? Oh, the big table. Okay.
Yeah, the big table. So the strategy 2, the big, yeah, that one. Yeah, it's second and third items.
Yeah, so the second one would be more about housing case management. So folks that this would fit more in with the way forward presentation that we had, where they have folks that people that are having affordable housing issues have a whole host of other situations going on. So that's more of a wraparound case management type of effort versus the tenant resource center. That's something that Sun Prairie has funded within the community that's really just focused on the legal assistance for folks that are have tenant landlord issues.
So maybe we can clarify that more, because that's a good clarification. But like when we say housing counseling in the third one, that kind of seems to overlap with the second one.
Got it. Yep.
So it's case management versus legal.
Yep.
Okay.
Would this be a good time to talk about the bit of public input that we got from Bill Connors with the Smart Growth Greater Madison?
Sure.
Did everybody see that message?
I can share it.
Might have just gone to chairs and vice chairs. Anyway, I received a message. I'm not sure why it was directed to me, except maybe because I'm the only alder person working on the plan right now. But the subject line was please do not use affordable housing fund money to pay for services. And he said, basically that the law allowing us to take this affordable housing extension specifically says to benefit affordable housing. And he made the argument, I would say he made the argument that that means build the housing, not do other stuff. He said, if the Workforce Housing Committee and the Common Council think that funding housing support services is important, we urge them to support or authorize paying for these services out of the general fund rather than from the limited resources of the Affordable Housing Fund. Please do not squander the limited resources in the Affordable Housing Fund. Please reserve that money for providing incentives that create more housing units now and in the future. And so I responded and thanked him, and I noted that we said, well, first of all, the statute is very vague, as we've discussed. It just says to support affordable housing or benefit affordable housing. And I said, yeah, there it is. I'm fairly certain the legislature had in mind making it possible for people to actually live in the affordable housing. And then I noted that we had in our resolutions said we would be consistent with the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy. And one of the strategies there is this rehabilitation of existing, preserve the affordability of existing housing. I said I didn't consider Energy Navigator to be a service. It's, I mean, not a human service like what Way Forward offers. It's more big. It's a rehab of these facilities to make housing more affordable by reducing the cost of utilities. And then I noted that I first heard about these services that Way Forward provides and others. I first heard of the need for this and the requirement for this in restricted income affordable housing buildings at the workshop that Bill hosted when Nicole, what's her last name? Solheim, when she spoke, and she specifically said, people don't just need a box, they need support. So anyway, I pushed back a little and said, that's why we've got in here the idea of having one of our actions be to fund these support services. But I did say we could discuss it at this meeting, so I'm curious to know if people have any thoughts on this. I mean, and I did tell Bill he'll have another opportunity to weigh in when the public input period begins.
So,
But do we really think that figuring out and helping folks to reduce energy costs is a supportive service, or that's actually improving the housing stock itself, right? I mean,
Right, that's
going directly to housing. Because we know energy costs, tax payments, those kinds of things, even though someone may have their house paid off, they're on a fixed income. As those things increase, that's how they can lose their housing and just as an example. So it is about maintaining their housing.
Well, and our resolution does say the city of Middleton shall use the final increment to improve housing quality and affordability. And so that improving the housing quality, that's exactly what the Energy Navigator project is doing. It's making it more comfortable and getting rid of mold and stuff like that.
So I appreciate that, but I'm not at all convinced we should be shy about saying we're offering services.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't feel we need to dance around that, right? So, I mean, so that's just my opinion, right? So.
Well, I think we can argue that these things aren't services, that they are a part of our strategy.
Well,
yeah,
I would say though, Jen, that I think the way they couple in strategy to our services, right? And again, I just haven't heard why we should be concerned about that their services, unless we're legally not required to, so.
Kelly has her hand raised.
yeah. Go ahead, Kelly.
It did stand out to me how many units we need to add per year. So I think, along with those comments, we'll need to consider the balance of support versus number of units if we need so many. And then also looking for ways that we can sustain the services, like installing solar panels for like a really long-term support versus offering someone reduced utilities for 2 years and then that cutting off.
Yep.
Something more long-term.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think the Efficiency Navigator program, I think it restricts the rent amount for 3 years currently. But we had talked about the possibility of this being at least 5 years.
Mhm.
All right, I'm doing a time check. Are we an hour and a half or an hour tonight?
Or an hour.
All right, we've got 4 minutes remaining on our meeting. Were there other?
I had a question about the roadmap, which I think is really great, but I wondered, what about education and outreach and information? Because I didn't see that as part of our roadmap for year one, and I think that's going to be necessary. Also.
And there's space for it in the bottom left.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then what is our year one? Do we need to define what year one is? Is it May 1st of 26?
it would probably be like from the time that the funding is available for a year.
Okay,
So, might be a check-in with Bill to get the exact,
right, when's that money gonna be
Yeah.
available?
but we can like shift over. We could shift higher staff down here and do the education.
Mm-hmm. Because staff
This-
will be needed to move everything else forward.
Does this imply sequence? Is it meant to imply sequence?
I think when you number things, it does imply a sequence.
It's,
And it's a path.
so is that, so were we saying like 6 and 7 would actually be the last things we do in the year? Is that what we're saying?
That would be how I would read it as a layperson.
But these two things are also ongoing. Like we already have this database now, to start out with.
So do we not number them?
Well, I think the fact that it's a roadmap, I mean, you're traveling down the road, right?
Right.
And so you're gonna go either right to left or left to right, so. I think if there's something that is ongoing or already happening, that can come after maybe hire staff to explain, like, this is something staff can do right away.
Okay.
We already have something, so here's what the new staff can do with it.
Mhm.
And then, like, the build relationships, that it could actually say what you have in the text below, begin to build relationships.
Mm.
So that conveys this is an ongoing.
What happens if it takes 6 months to hire staff? Are we waiting on everything else?
Yeah, I think maybe.
I don't-
Maybe.
I guess not,
There's
yeah.
not capacity, right? Like,
Or maybe maintain an affordable housing database needs to go number 2 after establish the housing fund.
and maybe it's continue to maintain or.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
We do?
have, yeah, we have the baseline, so yeah, I like the idea of continue to. I do think that all of these items that are listed on the year one were medium or low.
Okay.
So if it takes a while to hire staff, we probably could still get started.
On the next page, I had a question just about So hire a full-time dedicated staff person, and there's this long list of things to do. What about adding or what that person would do? What about adding the reports we need to do in order to qualify for, well, comply with state law, but then, because there are 2 reports, correct, that we need to do
Yep.
annually? So I would add those as,
Housing fee report and housing affordability report.
Mhm.
Coming soon.
awesome. So yeah, I would just add those.
Good catch.
And then. On well, it's page 13 of the plan, strategy 1B, land banking, how a land bank works. I'm a little concerned, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but if I got the impression, others might too. The second box, government unit forecloses on property for unpaid taxes and code enforcement liens. That raised a red flag with me because I don't want people to think that when it comes to land banking, we're going to be taking over foreclosed properties and.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
think
mean?
we didn't create this
Right,
graphic,
right.
so it probably was just the one that best illustrated it, but we could look for a different graphic, or we could also have Jolyn
Yeah,
edit it.
because I just don't want people to think this part of our goal is to take over people's houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had determined that was too big of a lift for too little reward for us.
Right.
Yep.
And then on page 16, strategy 2B, 16 on the left footer. So it says, in addition to providing a location, this is the box, for the satellite office at Sunshine Place, the city of Sun Prairie dedicated a portion of their housing fund, okay. But didn't Sun Prairie bring the, tenant resource center to Sun Prairie? To the Sunshine Place?
Yeah, so I think the way that's meant to be phrased is that they help facilitate a location for, or the tenant resource office is within the Sunshine Place offices
Yeah.
there. And so they provide ongoing operational funds, but also help to find a location
Okay,
for them to exist.
okay. Yeah, to provide drop-in services for their, okay. I think, and maybe it's just my brain late at night, but provide drop-in services for the residents. I think I would say to establish a satellite office and provide drop-in services for the residents. Because that's what I think of the satellite offices being.
Okay.
All right, so just
Yep.
looking at our time here, I think, unless anyone else has anything really burning about substance, content, little tweaks, right? Feel free to email Abby and Scott, as they work through these edits and revisions that we've been discussing. And then whatever they're collecting tomorrow night from the Education and Outreach Subcommittee. The hope is that we can get the next revision out really quickly, so folks can really come prepared to talk about priorities and any sort of final adjustments that we have at our joint meeting on the 11th of December. Any other action items I missed? Abby, Scott?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Nope.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the Education and Outreach Subcommittee, because I really thought, especially this target audiences grouping with the stretch goal, I like that. I just really like the way they put this together, so kudos to them, please relay that.
It'll be good to reconvene with everybody again soon, so. Any other thoughts in closing? Some have been quiet tonight. Want to make sure we capture any of your ideas or changes. All right. Well, we look forward to convening again on December 11th for additional adjustments. Thanks all for your great work on this subcommittee. We don't know yet if we'll need to reconvene, but we'll figure that out as we go through that public process and the stakeholder input process. So I'm gonna call this meeting adjourned at 6:05.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You,
Thank
great
you.
job, staff.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
This let's put on one page so that that's gonna be bigger for people like me. And then this one, present it to the Chamber of Commerce or other events.